The departure sirens echoed through the upper levels of Port Helios, their low harmonic tones vibrating through the metal floor beneath my boots. Each tone marked another minute closer to launch. Another minute closer to leaving everything I had ever known behind. Above the docking bay, the stars burned cold and sharp through the viewport glass. The void beyond them was not empty. It was full of promises, dangers, and distances no human heart was ever meant to cross alone. I stood in line with the others, my travel case resting at my side, the insignia of the Astrius deep space expedition glowing faintly on my sleeve. Around me were scientists, engineers, navigators, people chosen not because they were brave, but because they were willing to disappear. The mission was simple in description and terrifying in reality. A one-way expedition beyond mapped space to investigate a repeating signal originating from a region the probes called the Black Reach. No ship sent there had ever returned. No signal sent back had ever been understood until now. I had spent 10 years training for this moment. 10 years convincing myself that leaving Earth, leaving my city, leaving her was the only thing that made sense. That lie was unraveling faster with every siren call. Final boarding call for Astrius personnel, the station AI announced calmly. All non-essential individuals must clear the bay. I took a breath and stepped forward. Then I heard my name. Kale. The sound cut through the noise like gravity itself, pulling me backward. I froze mid-step. I knew that voice. Slowly I turned. She stood just beyond the security barrier, breathless as if she had run the entire length of the station. Her dark hair was pulled back hastily, loose strands framing a face I had memorized long before I ever learned the stars. Her eyes, still the same impossible shade of amber, searched for me with an intensity that made my chest ache. "Lena," I whispered. She wasn't supposed to be here. She had made that clear 3 months ago, the night we said goodbye. "This is your future, Kale," she had said. "And I won't be the thing that makes you hesitate." Yet here she was. Security officers glanced between us, but didn't intervene. Maybe they sensed this was bigger than protocol. Maybe they'd seen this scene too many times before. I stepped closer to the barrier. "You shouldn't be here." She let out a shaky laugh. "I know." I told myself that the whole way. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The space between us was filled with everything we hadn't said in years. Finally, she broke the silence. "They decoded more of the signal," she said quietly. "Last night." My stomach tightened. "That's classified." "I know," she replied. "I'm not here as a civilian." That got my attention. Lena had always been brilliant, far more than she ever let on. While I trained for deep space navigation, she studied theoretical temporal physics, chasing questions most scientists avoided. The kind of research that made governments nervous. "What did you find?" I asked. Her gaze flicked briefly to the guards, then back to me. "The signal isn't a message," she said. "It's a response." "To what?" I asked. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "To you." The world seemed to tilt. "That's not possible," I said. "The signal predates the mission by decades." She nodded. "By exactly 32 years. A cold realization crept up my spine. "My age," I said. "Yes." The siren sounded again, louder this time. "You need to explain," I said. "I can't," she replied, eyes glistening. "Not here. Not like this." "Then why come?" I demanded, panic creeping into my voice despite my training. She swallowed hard. "Because if I didn't say this now, I'd lose my chance forever." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small data shard, pressing it against the barrier. One of the guards hesitated, then looked away. "Take this," she said. "When you're beyond the reach. When the stars start behaving wrong. What is it? I asked. A record, she replied, of what happens if you don't listen. The announcement blared again. Last call. I stared at her, every instinct screaming at me to stay, to ask more questions, to tear down the barrier if I had to. But the mission clock was unforgiving. Lena, I said, my voice breaking despite myself. Why does this feel like goodbye all over again? Her lips trembled into a sad smile. Because it is, she said. Just not the kind you think. I turned toward the ramp, forcing my legs to move. Then she called my name again. Kale. I looked back. Her eyes locked onto mine, fierce and terrified all at once. You don't come back the same, she said. None of you do. But if you hear a voice in the dark, if it sounds like me, promise you won't follow it blindly. What are you saying? I asked. She shook her head, tears finally falling. Just promise me. I nodded. I promise. That was when she said the words that followed me into the void. I'm already there. The ramp sealed behind me moments later. The Astrius left Port Helios in silence, slipping into faster-than-light space with barely a tremor. Earth vanished into a distant blue point, then into nothing at all. Days blurred into weeks. Weeks into months. The further we traveled, the stranger the stars became. Constellations twisted subtly. Time markers drifted. Our onboard AI recalibrated constantly, yet never fully stabilized. And then there was the signal. It grew stronger the closer we came to the Black Reach. Not louder, clearer. Patterns emerged that no longer felt random. It felt intentional. On the 87th day, I finally accessed the data shard Lena had given me. I wish I hadn't waited. The file contained recordings, visual logs, mission reports, personal messages, all time-stamped after our projected arrival. From me, I watched myself, older, eyes heavier, voice roughened by years, standing on a bridge I didn't recognize. If you're seeing this, future me said, it means I failed to stop myself the first time. The logs revealed the truth. The Black Reach was not a place, it was a fracture in time. A region where causality folded back on itself. Ships weren't destroyed there. They were looped. Every expedition became the source of the signal that drew the next. I wasn't responding to a message. I was creating it. And Lena had followed the math. She had traced the loop forward and backward until she found herself inside it, years before I would arrive. She hadn't come to stop me. She had come to warn me of myself. As we crossed the boundary of the Reach, the stars vanished entirely. Darkness pressed against the hull like a living thing. That was when I heard her voice. Kale. Not over the comms. Inside my mind. Every instinct told me to follow it. To adjust course. To find her. But I remembered her words. Don't follow it blindly. I made a different choice. I rerouted the ship's core into a temporal feedback burn, something no protocol allowed. Something that would erase our presence from the loop entirely. The crew screamed. Systems failed. Reality bent. And then, silence. I woke up on a familiar platform. Port Helios. The sky was blue. Sirens were quiet. A hand gripped mine tightly. Kale. Lena said. You spaced out. Are you okay? I stared at her, heart pounding. The mission badge was gone from my sleeve. The Astrius was still docked. The expedition had been cancelled, officially deemed too dangerous. History had changed. I pulled her into a tight embrace, breathing her in like a lifeline. Yeah, I said softly. I am now. Above us, the stars shone calmly, unbroken, uncalling. And for the first time, I understood what she had meant. She didn't call my name to stop me from leaving. She called it to make sure I came back.